Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and keep watching more details. Bold and the Beautiful, Steffy and Thomas's. Rage threatens Ridge's future at Forrester Creations. Bold and the Beautiful sees Thomas Forrester, Matthew Atkinson, about to go nuclear about what Ridge Forrester, Thorsten K., is doing with dumping his mom. And Steffy Forrester, Jacqueline McKenna Wood, is back in just a few weeks. And she's going to be mad as heck, too. I'm wondering if Thomas and Steffy are going to unite to punish their dad. We're going to talk about whether Thomas and his sister Steffy team up to get a little payback on their dear old dad, Ridge, and if they find a way to kick him out of Forrester Creations. Last week, when Thomas talked to Ridge and asked if he was staying with Taylor Hayes, Rebecca Buddig, we definitely saw Ridge dodging the question Thomas was asking. To me, that was kind of like lying right in his son's face when he owed him the truth. Of course, that came after Thomas walked in and saw Ridge with Brooke Logan, Catherine Kelly Lang, in his arms at Forrester Creations. Then this week, just as Ridge was telling Taylor he's going back to Brooke, we had Thomas confronting Brooke and telling her, "Stay out of the way of my parents." Instead, she told Thomas that Ridge never proposed to Taylor and that she and Ridge shared this game-changing moment in Italy. Of course, Thomas doesn't care that it was Taylor who proposed versus Ridge. They're getting married, and he tells Brooke to back off. And of course, she's not going to. Meanwhile, Taylor was trying to reject Ridge rejecting her, and Taylor was ranting about how Brooke will do dirty like she always does. But he's stuck to his guns. He is going to go forward, officially breaking things off with Taylor. Even worse, it looks like Ridge runs and almost immediately proposes to Brooke. I saw a behind-the-scenes photo of Catherine Kelly Lang. She was in her Brooke costume. She had a big rock on her ring finger, which seems to confirm this week's spoilers. Of course, when Ridge proposes, she is going to say yes, and I bet that she's going to try to get Ridge down the aisle as soon as possible. Spoilers say that Steffy back in time for Ridge's wedding, but it looks like Steffy was planning to attend as the daughter of the bride to her mom, Taylor, not as the disgruntled ex. Bottom line, no matter how Ridge tries to justify his actions, both Thomas and Steffy are going to be furious with their father. This could go really badly for Ridge and Brooke. And by the way, also for Eric Forrester, John McCook, because he pushed Ridge to go back to Brooke and to dump Taylor. So I think Steffy and Thomas may also be disillusioned with their granddad Eric as well. Of course, Steffy and Thomas are going to be there to comfort their mom, Taylor. But will Thomas and Steffy also decide that Ridge needs to pay? And maybe Brooke and Eric do too? After the unsatisfactory talk that Thomas had with Brooke, he's going to go back over and see Taylor, who of course is going to be distraught because she's just been dumped. And now, even worse since Ridge ditched her, Taylor has to pack her bags and leave the Forrester mansion, basically in a walk of shame. Worse yet, Katie Logan, Heather Tom, and Donna Logan, Jennifer Garrice, might hassle Taylor on her way out. It just sounds awful. When Thomas finds out Ridge swapped fiancés and is engaged to Brooke, he's going to blow his top. I'm sure Thomas is going to let Steffy know exactly what their dad has done to their mom. Ridge went and broke Taylor's heart yet again. Now, we also know Thomas isn't in the best headspace right now after his split from Paris Buckingham, Diamond White, and the reveal that her mother was doing horrible things to Liam. Spencer, Scott Clifton, that also affected Hope Logan, Annika Noel. Of course, Steffy's gone off to heal after the Buckinghams also traumatized her with the Liam scam. Plus, Steffy was devastated when Liam was shot. And of course, Luna Nozawa, Lisa Yamada, was ready to kill Steffy too. So she may not be in the best headspace when she comes back to town. Or maybe Steffy did get her head straight, but then this bad news about Ridge and Taylor devastates her all over again. Ridge promised Steffy when he reunited with Taylor that he would not break her mother's heart, but Ridge has gone and done it anyway, and ran right to Brooke yet again. So I definitely expect Steffy and Thomas are going to be really, really salty with their father. Of course, Steffy and Thomas could try and sabotage the Brooke and Ridge wedding. But then again, maybe they decide to hit their father where it hurts. Maybe Steffy and Thomas want to crush Ridge, Eric, and Brooke and decide that the best way to do it is using Forrester Creations. So, what if Steffy and Thomas used the family company to slap back at their dad and their granddad? The last time we heard, the ownership split of Forrester Creations was this. Ridge owns 20% of Forrester Creations, and Thomas owns 5%, and he was letting Ridge vote his 5%. But the bottom line was it belonged to Thomas. So Ridge had 20%, Thomas had 5%. The other 75% of Forrester Creations was owned equally by Steffy and Eric. They each have 37.5% of Forrester Creations. So, the way the split is that we last heard it, it wouldn't be enough for Thomas and Steffy to pull their own coup. However, right now is the perfect time for Bold and the Beautiful to swap things around and say that the ownership of the company changed. Like they can justify it by saying when Hope and Carter Walton, Lawrence St. Victor, pulled the coup, and then he took over and was running the company. You know, when Carter gave back the company over Hope's objections, there could have been some change in ownership implemented. You know, Bold and the Beautiful could say that when Carter gave it back, Eric and Ridge decided to split it between the next generation that were already involved in the company. Ridge's two oldest kids, Steffy and Thomas, they already had ownership stakes, so maybe they rearranged the percentages. And if Steffy and Thomas together hold more than 50%, they could wreak havoc and punish Ridge and others. If you remember, Thomas was saying he felt untethered because he's not working on a line right now. Well, he could come in and take Ridge's place designing couture. I think it'd be fun if Steffy and Thomas were able to boot out and say, "You want to break our mom Taylor's heart and run back to Brooke? Fine. But you need to go find a job someplace else because we don't want you here. You betrayed the family, so you're out of the family business." And Eric played a role in reuniting Brooke and Ridge and crushing their mom. Steffy and Thomas might oust Eric also. Not that he's doing a lot of designing these days. And they could fire Brooke while they're at it in revenge for Taylor. So yeah, I could see Thomas and Steffy going after revenge on Taylor's behalf. And for themselves because their family was going to be whole again until Brooke ruined it. So this would kind of be a perfect revenge. We'll see how it goes. The key to this whole thing is the ownership percentages. But Bold changes history where they want to. And after the coup that Carter pulled, they could absolutely say that everything changed. The timing is perfect. If Thomas and Steffy have the power to take Ridge out of Forrester Creations and slide Eric onto the back burner as well, they might do it. They may want to hit Ridge where it will hurt most for him doing their mom Taylor so dirty. The atmosphere at Forrester Creations had always been a blend of legacy, luxury, and drama. But lately the tension had reached a blistering new peak. Ridge Forrester, long revered as the creative heart and co-CEO of the fashion dynasty, now found himself caught in the crossfire of a storm he never saw coming, one fueled not by his enemies, but his own children. Steffy and Thomas, both simmering with resentment, were seconds away from detonating a rebellion powerful enough to jeopardize their father's standing at the very company he helped build. The shift began subtly, like a slow leak in a porcelain vase. Steffy had returned from Europe hardened by her experiences, fiercely protective of her branch of the family, and convinced that Ridge had become too lenient with Brooke and her influence. Thomas, who had fought and clawed his way back into the company after scandal, felt his father's faith in him wasn't as unwavering as it should be. And then came the latest bombshell. Whispers of Ridge considering a structural shift in leadership, one that wouldn't place his children at the center. Despite their years of dedication, Steffy was the first to snap. In the executive office, she stood with her arms folded tight across her chest, her voice a sharp edge slicing through polished glass and tailored suits. "I've given everything to this company, and you know it. But if you think Brooke's opinion carries more weight than the people who actually carry the Forrester name, then maybe you've forgotten who you are." Ridge tried to stay calm, but even he could sense the shift. This isn't about Brooke. It's about stability, about doing what's best for the company. Steffy met his gaze with ice. "No, Dad, it's about control, and you're losing yours." Thomas, leaning against the desk, exchanged a look with his sister before adding his own spark. "We've built Forrester's latest successes. The hope for the future relaunch. That was me. The international line? That was Steffy's leadership. We've earned more than scraps of recognition.